my name is Maddie Falkenstern, and in this video we are going to be discussing general tips about how to score higher on showmanship and how I should go about finding a good bird and identifying it later. So the first thing I tell people when they want to score higher in their showmanship class is to look up breed-specific information. There is a guide about every recognized breed of poultry, and this guide is called the American Standard of Perfection. What the American Standard of Perfection is a set of guidelines for all poultry, your bantam chickens, your standard chickens, your ducks, your geese, they're all in there. And every variety has a set of standards that they must measure up to. And it really helps if you know this information. You'll see how I use this later on in the showmanship presentation, but it really helps if you know it. The next thing I get asked is, where can I find good birds? How can I find good birds? Who is a reputable breeder? And I recommend, if you know someone, with this book. It's the American Bantam Association yearbook. The American Poultry Association has the same type of yearbook every year, and in this book there is pages filled with numbers of breeders from all over the country, and you can contact them, and it's very reputable, and they can assist you in finding the perfect bird. Also, if you mention that you are a 4-H'er, they usually give you discounts on the birds. And they're very nice, and they're knowledgeable, and they really just want to share their knowledge with you to promote poultry. So that's really a very cool source of information. Another really common question I get asked is, how can I keep track of my bird? Like, I don't know where my bird went, I can't find my bird, I don't know which bird I've been practicing with. To solve this problem, I use leg bands. These are little bands you can get at poultry supplies, and they go around their leg, and they just have an identification, like 11 or 12. I think the numbers go all the way up to 100, but these are yellow, size 11, 1 through 25, and this is what I put on my cochins to identify which ones are which. And it's also really good for keeping track of like which birds produce well and if any are sick. It's a really good identification tool. And I also like to use these at shows, because if you go to larger shows and you keep track of your bird and your bird's leg band, then there's less chance of something happening to your bird where it's like stolen or taken out and you can't find it, or placed in the wrong class. Usually if they know your leg band number, that really helps a lot. So when you finish your showmanship class, your judge is going to ask you questions. Some really common questions for novices are like, how many weeks old does a chicken have to be in order to lay an egg? Or, name 3 other varieties of your breed. Or, how long does it take a chicken's egg to hatch? When you get into the higher levels, like junior and senior showmanship, they ask you more complicated questions. They could ask you, how many sex chromosomes are in a chicken? Name 5 bacterial diseases present in chickens and how you would treat them. What is the guidelines for biosecurity for treating chickens. Stuff like that. It just gets more complicated. But I find that a lot of these answers are very fun to learn. I like learning the more obscure facts. Probably the hardest question I was asked in the showmanship presentation is how many sex chromosomes are present on a female chicken at the time of fertilization. And I had no idea. And this brings up another good point. If you have no idea, just make a guess. It won't hurt you. If you make an approximate guess, they might give it to you if you're close enough. Another thing is if you know your bird has something wrong with it, say your bird has a defect, point out the defect and tell them what it is and how you wish you could change it, because they really do appreciate honesty when it comes to your own bird. You know, like my bird died in the middle of my showmanship presentation, and that was horrible, but I kept going. I was like, okay, well, I must keep going because I drove all the way here, and I was just like, when this bird was alive, it did X. So if anything weird happens to you in the middle of showmanship, and I don't think anything will ever happen to you like that, but if it does, just keep going, because they admire that too. They admire honesty much more than they do someone pontificating over random facts they know very little about. So that is really my advice to you. In the next video, hopefully you'll see my cochin rooster, one of my cochin roosters. His name is Captain. He is really nice. The breeds for beginners I recommend you get would be like a Cochin, a Brahma, Wyandottes are pretty nice. Usually for the littler kids, I tend to favor Bantams just because they're smaller and easier to handle. I wouldn't get any of like the flightier Asiatic breeds like a Yokohama. I wouldn't get any modern or old English game birds, obviously. I wouldn't get a Shamo. I wouldn't get Sumatras ever. One Bantam breed I would stay away from is Seabrights because they tend not to be so great. That's pretty much it. So I hope you see this video and I hope you like it. Next is my showmanship presentation, which is going to be outside, so that should be interesting.